Yeah,
starting off strong. Welcome to the Peony, the Peony. Welcome to the Peony.
Where all the ding dongs play, right? Was that the last line?
Yeah, it could be whatever you want it to be.
Dope. Hey everybody, I'm Lex.
And I'm Julia. Hello.
Welcome
to our meditation corner. Just kidding. Gotcha.
Imagine just the two of us trying to run a meditation app. I would nap a lot, probably.
I wonder how that would go. I feel like we would either overcommit and like really get into it and like pimp out our space and get the sage and get the incense and get like really lean into it. Right now, you may be feeling some tension. I want you to just take a deep breath. Or we go so far in the comedy direction that we get fired.
Oh. All right, everybody. Feet flat on the floor.
The calm app people are just like, never mind.
I'm going to have to fire you. Yeah. Well, their loss, you know?
We'll just start our own meditation app.
Oh, dear.
We're going to do it all like Joe Pesci style, all Long Island and New Jersey accents.
All right.
So what do you got to be stressed about?
I just want you to take a deep breath. No, just take it through your nose and then out your mouth. But like, don't spit on anybody. That's not right.
Nailed it.
Thank you. I was trying to channel my family as much as I could.
Brought me back to growing up on Staten Island and Brooklyn. You know who could do impeccably on like a meditation app? Our guest.
I was gonna say, is it our guest?
Her voice is just like soothing, is balm to my soul. It's butter. It's just butter.
Just like butter.
Like room temperature softens butter.
Like the good kind.
I'm sorry, we're doing Yasmin such a disservice now.
So this week we have Yasmine Creese-Brown back on the show.
First repeat.
I know. Repeat. Yasmin joined us earlier this year. Time is a blur. To talk about Juice the Game. And this time she is on to talk to us about IT GRL EMPIRE, which is, she's got journals. She's coming out with a planner at some point next year, which I'm so excited about. But her journals are really beautiful. There's a series of astrology or zodiac signs, which I love. You'll hear me talking about this, but I love that like the Capricorn one is not like just neutral colors. It's vibrant and beautiful, and each one represents a different type of woman, and it's lovely. And this endeavor she started on, I think, before Juice the Game, right after she left the hedge fund world. And so she's relaunching that. So we're talking about that. We're talking about aliens again, spice worlds.
Of course, obviously. I love that at one point we were having these really amazing conversations, and at one point she flipped the tables and started asking us questions, and she had some heavy hitters, some like really existential, beautiful questions. And so that was a fun little surprise for sure.
Yeah. They were definitely questions where I was like, if I was high right now, I would probably just start crying. Like, no, I can't think about this.
If I was high during that line of questioning, this would have been a 5 to 6 hour podcast episode. So I'm very happy that I was not. And we really drilled down. And she messaged us after on Instagram to just say like that our conversations, whenever they happen, are always just such an amazing point in her day, and I couldn't agree more. And I really hope that our listeners feel the same way about this conversation. So everyone, I really hope that you enjoy our talk with Yasmine Creese-Brown, founder of Juice the Game and It Girl Empire. And we're here.
Yay!
And we're present.
And we're doing the thing.
Yasmine, I think you are the first guest that's been on more than once.
Oh, really? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because you're just everyone that we talk to is a straight up boss, because that's the nature of the podcast. But you are here for two completely different things.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I feel like I might need you to break it down for me. So It Girl Empire. I've seen the products. I've seen the beautiful digital art, the notebooks, the soon to be planners, I hear. But I walk me through these different facets, because you have the Juice Game and then you have It Girl Empire. Walk me through everything, because I'm confused. Yeah. Do you just want to do all the things? Because I respect that.
Yeah, so the tagline is inclusive publisher. And if you think about it, publishers do a lot of things. They do board games, they do entertainment, they do books. And I figured, that was the best way to describe what I'm doing. The way I like to think about it is just recycling art and figuring out different ways to make things with art, if you will. But yeah, that's the gist of it. I can go more into detail, but I don't have the game on the website. I'm still figuring out how to make it fit. Yeah, I do actually plan on doing something fun with the game in It Girl Empire, but more to come on that.
That's exciting. So what was the seed that you plant? Like, what was the root of the idea for It Girl Empire? Where did it come from?
Oh, that's a great one. So the seed was planted years ago. And I really just wanted to start a community with storytelling and pretty much entrepreneur women who were ambitious, who had lots of goals, and maybe didn't quite fit in with everyone else, or there wasn't a specific definition for what they represented, and that's where the name It Girl came from. I did a relaunch because when I first started this project, I'll call it a project, I wasn't quite sure where I was going with it. Somehow art entered into the picture with the storytelling, and then that's where Bullpen came to play. But I've always loved art. I think I mentioned this last time. I've always loved art. I've always been into storytelling. It's kind of what I do now full time with the interviewing job that I do full time. So I don't know, it just makes sense. But the seed was planted years ago, and I guess everything just kind of happens for a reason.
I love that. And I have to say, I got the Aquarius Notebook. I had to. There was cheetah print happening. I was very, very into it. Can you describe a little bit, since we are an audio format, and I know that we can always direct people to go look, but can you describe in your own words kind of the art, what people can expect, and the inspiration behind it?
Yeah, so we have a wide variety of different journals, and the way I kind of put it today with everyone's questions, I posted some of the journals yesterday, and I got so many questions and feedback and love for them, really. And someone said, I don't know which one to buy first. And I'm like, well, just whatever your mood is, really. I want to really inspire people to feel what they're feeling. And I feel like a lot of the journals really play on your mood. So if you guys, if you're listening out there and you go to the website, you'll see that a lot of it deals with nails and colors and zodiac signs. We just launched a space theme collection.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
And then there's also the inspirational ones as well. So a lot of it pulls on like your emotions and just what you're feeling and kind of putting feeling to paper.
And I'm coming from like I'm a little bit of a dumbass, let's be honest. So are you the artist? Are you sourcing from various indie artists? What is it at right now? And then what is the vision?
Yeah, so I'm the visionary. I kind of see a journal and I find an artist to bring it to life. Some of the words, I do design some of the words. So the inspirational journals, a lot of those have like words on them, like the future is bright, you got this. So those play on words, I did that, but all of the art is outsourced, and we have artists from pretty much around the world. One of them lives in Indonesia, another lives here in the United States, another lives in I actually have no idea where he lives. In the States, it's somewhere in Southeast Asia. So it's pretty much a team of people. I wish it was just me doing the art, but absolutely no, I'm not that talented.
Yet.
Yeah. Yet.
I hear it takes practice.
It definitely takes practice, but I have no desire in doing the art. I definitely just want to stick to being the visionary behind what's coming to life. Some of the characters that you see are actually women from social media.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, like the Aquarius journal you bought, I actually saw that outfit on someone, and then played with the words in the necklace and then the design in the necklace. So it's kind of a cool little mixture of like reality and then I guess escapism art.
Yeah, it was very on point. Like I browsed the other zodiac signs, but I went directly to mine, obviously, in a little bit of an egotistical fashion. And I was like, this captured it, like the Aquarius nameplate necklace, the cheetah print, like, yes, this is Aquarius. Lex, did you look at Capricorn?
I did
by
look
chance?
at Capricorn. Yeah, it's like this. I love the Capricorn one because it's got like it's this beautiful like hot pink with cherries. Like it's bright and vibrant, and I feel like Capricorn's like, all right, this is a rant, but ColourPop recently like released like a color palette, and each zodiac has like 4 shades, and I was like, I bet that Capricorn's gonna be like browns. It's gonna be like muted colors.
Neutrals.
And of course it is, because that's like the only like Capricorns are like kind of boring. So I love that it's bright and vibrant and fun, and like because we get that reputation so much. And I'm like, okay, like Capricorns are chaotic. Like, what are we doing? But I love that there's a distinct personality to all of these journals and to the artwork. And I don't know, I saw the Capricorn one. I was like, I have to order this because look at her. She's beautiful. So
Well, thank you.
I love it.
Well, thank you. I do realize, though, that some of these personalities, you put that perfectly, don't really represent, they don't represent everyone. So we're definitely working on having a number 2 and number 3 edition to each of the zodiac signs. So hopefully people can find like what suits them. My mom was like, I definitely can't buy that for my friend. Her boobs are hanging out, and my mom's in her 50s. So I get it. There's a generational thing to it. There's a fashion thing to it. And so I do want to, the point of this really is to be inclusive. I didn't really want to use the word diverse because I think that a lot of companies definitely claim to be diverse, but their form of diversity is just bringing to you guys a marginalized group of people. And although that's beautiful and representation is important, to me, it's so important that inclusiveness is also brought into the picture, because if you just have, a group of people that are considered diverse, but there's only one group of people, to me, that defeats the purpose. So, excuse me. I definitely want to make IT GRL EMPIRE as inclusive as possible. So when my mom said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, definitely not following the mission and the vision on this. So expect more. If you want to hold out on the Capricorn, definitely feel to do so.
Oh no, I'm going for this one. I love this one.
Well, I think what we can relate on is like, I think Lex is this way, I'm this way. I don't know if Yasmin, you're this way, or if, our listeners are this way, but there is no limit. The limit does not exist to how many notebooks and journals I own. Like, I have so many notebooks and journals that are blank, that are sitting in a box or sitting somewhere around my house, and I'm like, I'll get to it. Or I'll just put it on the table and don't even want to crack it open because it's so pretty. Mm-hmm. So I feel like you nailed it with journals, because that is something that I feel like so many people can't get enough of.
Well, I'm glad to hear it, because I feel the same exact way, which is why I'm super excited about the planner as well. I think the planners are more, the word I am looking for escapes me. They guide you on a journey more so, whereas a journal, you can do whatever you want with it, draw little doodles, notes, whatever. But a planner is really a guided journey. And so I'm excited about the planner. I think that, of course, I'm going to keep the same look and make it artful, but also a journey for like self-care and just, I'll leave it at that. Self-care.
No, I want to know more.
I know. I was going to ask. I was like, so like, because there's so like Julie, I don't know if you're also this way. I can't tell you how many planners I have that I'm like, yeah, it's fine. But for me personally, there is one that I've used that has like it kind of at the very beginning, it's like, let's break down the goals that you want to achieve and break them down into bite-sized bits. And then you put that into the planner, and it's like, there's intention behind it, and I find that I use that a lot more than ones that are like a standard planner. So you were mentioning self-care. Like, are there certain milestones that you're planning on building into it to help keep people engaged with the planner?
Yeah.
You were such a fucking Capricorn. Sorry. Go on. Well, because you mentioned that, and I was like, yeah, no, like the planners that like maybe give you a prompt to do shadow work or like creative writing prompt or something, and you were like the ones that take your goals and break them down and give you a plan. Like, such Capricorn energy.
Well, it's tied into self-care. Look, I'm very disorganized.
True.
I know I fool a lot of people, but
well, that honestly, that was a great question, because like, yes, there's different monthly inserts that go with mental awareness. I co-wrote the planner with a therapist, so there's a lot of behavioral exercises in there as well. And the goal outside of self-care is to really think about, what is it that you're passionate about? What's your vision in life, your goals? And how do you bring those to fruition? How you make those come true? And so there's also a, wow, you know what? I'm never doing a late podcast again. I have no idea right now. A vision board. There's also a vision board spread.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you can like do a little vision board and really think about, what is it that you truly want to do in life. That's been a theme for me for the past 4 or 5 years, working with the nonprofit I work with and guiding students on how to really go for their career goals. And I realized that having a 9-to-5 job, of course, is a lot different than pursuing something a little bit more creative. So I think I found a way to mesh the two, hopefully, but you guys can be the judge of that. But I guarantee you, it's a great read. Every time I read it, I feel so inspired and just refreshed. So I'm excited to share it. I've had this, by the way, for about 2 years now. So
when is it coming?
Yeah.
When do we get it? When do the people get it?
It's a date, but we'll be here by next year for sure.
So are you going to do a pre-order for it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Or you're like, I'm just gonna put it out there, and you guys.
Out there. I haven't really. Yeah, that hasn't been my vibe, but hopefully, when it is out there, hopefully people read it because I really do hope that it changes lives and gets people thinking. The person that I co-wrote it with, her vocabulary was really vivid, and so she brought a lot to it. And so it's her mind and my mind mashed together. And I think that's what makes it so different is her background with psychology, and then my background with career development, and also, I guess, creative design technically too.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so I've been saying this. A lot of people have been saying this for the past 2 years. Like, 2020 is going to be our year. Obviously not. 2021 is going to be our year. Obviously still not. But I feel it in my bones. 2022 will be our year. I feel a shift in the universe, and the fact that we're getting this planner in 2022, I'm like, okay, this is another piece of evidence that is telling me, yes, it's gonna be our year.
Yeah, I mean, I love the number 22 because my birthday's on March 22nd, so totally Aries. But I agree. I feel great about 2022. I there's no denial that the past 2 years were really tough on everyone.
Yeah,
but I think it also, I saw so many small businesses spark from it. And so
yes,
it's all heading in the right direction. We can just continue to be responsible and have that, that hope that everything will be okay. But I'm for it.
Yeah.
100%. We're going to have to, and then maybe, perhaps, you will do a It GRL EMPIRE launch party, and Lex and I will come out and crash it. Because
for the introvert self that I am, I'm actually a super introverted person, and so the thought of having a party gives me so much anxiety. I'll just say that aloud.
Okay, we'll do like a very intimate slumber party.
Okay, for that.
Dope. Just get like footy pajamas, the whole thing.
Snacks, light as a feather, stiff as a board.
The Spice Girls, cannot forget that.
Absolutely not. Julia is losing her mind.
I can't, especially since we last spoke, I've still been on this train, like, bring back Spice World, make it streaming. Like, I have been threatening to send people VHS tapes and, like, to get a petition going. We need it streaming. I'm sorry, this is going to become a Spice Girls episode very quickly if I don't get off this train.
I mean, honestly, it's probably just a Spice Girls podcast at this point. Like, that's just where we've gone.
It hasn't happened yet. Maybe they're holding out
Right.
on us, and they're planning something big. I have no idea why it's not on Netflix. I don't understand it.
No.
Okay,
Pains me.
I hope that that's the truth. Like, I hope they're waiting for some huge, big bonanza, and maybe Posh will come back. I know she's got a lot going on, but maybe she'll come back. And then they're going to do a huge reunion tour. I'm very into it. I mean, if Elton John is still touring, and he keeps saying, this is my last tour, Cher keeps saying, this is my last tour, and they're all still touring, bring back the Spice Girls.
Yeah.
Bring them back.
Make it make sense for all of us, please.
Make it make sense. Okay, if that happens in 2022, then we know that we're alive, we're okay, we're on the mend, the apocalypse has not happened, we're not in a simulation.
Oh.
Or we are, and someone has taken pity on us and thrown us a bone.
So no pressure to the Spice Girls or anything.
Yeah,
but
no pressure.
Make it happen.
do it.
We should go on tour. Well, you're an introvert. I was going to say we should just go on tour as the Spice Girls cover band.
Oh.
We just need 2 more people.
Yeah. And,
Or 3 if Yasmin, if you want to be the tour manager.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Yasmin's like, no. You two
Got it.
weirdos do it.
But I have a question. So what's wrong with the assimilation? Like, does that not, appeal to you?
No, simulation. Like, we're all in the Matrix.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Those have been some of the theories being floated around, right? Like, the Mayans were right. The world did end in 2012. We've all been living in a simulation. And some... This is obviously for the stoners out there. And obviously, this is what our world is now. And so whatever happens is just we're at the mercy of whoever's playing the
Right.
Sims.
Okay. So I guess the question still stands with the simulation. Would you be okay with it?
Yeah.
Like, how would you feel about that?
I mean, okay, so I've given this some thought. No one has asked me this question yet, but I'm ready for it. So thank you for this is the moment. Thank you for asking. I feel like it's hard to gauge because what if the world out there is worse? So, but also this goes back to our previous conversation of extraterrestrials. What if they're the ones that are controlling the simulation? I would want to be pulled out of it just so I can meet them, just so I could see, okay, what technology do you have? What's going on? But I feel like considering that I have a regularly scheduled existential crisis as I am existing in this world, I feel like if I knew that we were in knew we were in a simulation, came out of it, saw what the world was like outside of it, I might combust, like spontaneously combust.
Yeah, I think so. Probably. So what if, like, okay, what if, let's go with this, what if this is all like a dream?
Yes.
God's dream.
Okay, I see you,
Yeah.
baby. This is all a dream.
God's dream. But do you think Sims actually dream when they're sleeping?
I personally don't dream. So
So maybe only some Sims do, like the ones who have the certain expansion pack. Like some of us dream. Some of us don't.
damn it, I knew I was V1. I knew I was an unevolved Sim.
No, you just got to update your software.
Unprogram and reprogram, yeah.
Yeah.
Power cycle that is. Yeah.
If this is somebody's dream, I feel like they took way too much melatonin or something. Like, yeah. I often think about that. Like, are we here? And it doesn't help when people are like, deja vu is just an example of like a glitch in the Matrix. When people point out stuff like that, I'm like, you're not helping. You're not helping the panic that I feel. Like, oh no.
I agree.
Yeah. But then I wonder, I hear you, both of you, and I raise you.
Oh no.
You talked about deja vu. What about intuition? How do you explain intuition? Like the fact that you feel pulled to something, but you then have to make the choice of whether or not to listen to it or to go into that direction.
Yeah.
Riddle me this.
Okay, going back to the simulation, if it's like a video game and there's something like glowing off in the distance, right? Like you as the player, like, I should go do that. I'm going to go over here though and do something else first, and then I'll come back to that door that's highlighted, and then you forget about the door. Like maybe that's what that is. I feel like there's going to be a way we can spin it either way.
Yeah, for sure. Whatever's thought is technically like reality-ish, I guess. But I don't know. Like for me, when I personally think that I think that we're not alone. We talked about that last time. It's impossible that we are, in my opinion. If space is really, what they say it is, doesn't make sense for us to be alone. But something created, obviously us. God, the creator, whoever you believe in. But it's for me, I like to think that this is a dream. I don't know why. I think the fact that we dream kind of gives it away for me. I've always thought that.
Yeah. Oh.
So what happens when the dreamer wakes up? And is it one dreamer that we're all in this dream, or is it some sort of like collective dreaming?
That's a good question. Maybe not even like a literal dream. Maybe just something that was, I don't know. These are questions that no one really knows the answer to, right? That's a good one. I don't know.
This is freaking me out, y'all. This is
Sorry,
like,
Julia.
this is, wow. I'm going to have a lot of things to journal about in my new journal.
There you go.
See, I'm an Aquarius. You can't tell me these things because I immediately just start writing the plot to the next movie that Steven Spielberg is going to direct after West Side Story, now that it's coming out.
Oh.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so It Girl is publishing, but is that like paper publishing? Because you mentioned video games. Would you get into video games? Because this right now is a concept for a video game.
No, ma'am. I would never get into a video game.
Why?
I don't know. I just feel like that's not my realm. I think I like print. Everything I've done so far has definitely been like print. But you know, if it were to evolve into that, I wouldn't stop it. But it's definitely not a goal. But someone has actually mentioned that. Someone had mentioned that Juice should be a video game. And I just I don't know, I never really considered going into that industry. That industry is super competitive and expensive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you have to really know what you're doing, or I guess hire people that know what they're doing. But I shouldn't say never. Yeah. I'll leave it at that. I don't know if that was even an answer, but I'll leave it at that.
No, it's true. There are a few like comedic shows or movies about that world, like Mythic Quest on Apple TV is all about some like the company that designs a like World of Warcraft-esque game, and there's Grandma's Boy, obviously. But it's
obviously.
Obviously.
I think you're the only person I know who's talked about Grandma's Boy in like the past 5 to 6 years. Like the only person. And that's not a judgment.
I watch that movie once a year. Just to jog my memory on the lines.
Amazing.
It's so stupid. It's like Adam Sandler's B Team. So like a lot of like the B Team people from Adam Sandler's movies,
okay.
And I think his company may have produced it, but like Linda Cardellini's also in it.
Oh,
and it's basically this like middle-aged dude who plays as like a video game designer or tester or something, and he gets kicked out of his apartment and goes to live with his grandma, and he's like this major like irresponsible stoner, and obviously like antics ensue. If you like literally any Adam Sandler movie, you'll like this movie. And if you don't, highly recommend you don't watch.
Okay, no comment.
Fair. That's completely fair. I know Adam Sandler is very divisive.
Yeah, that's all right, you know? To each their own.
Okay, so no video games. Any other products that you can talk about that you're thinking about creating? I'm trying to get all this, like, give me the scoop.
Yeah. So I shamelessly just looked up Adam Sandler, and I know who you're talking about now. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm horrible with names, but if you show me a face, I'll know who you're talking about.
He's got a very recognizable face, yes.
Yeah.
No, that's funny. But I to go with the storytelling, back to that, I do write comics, and so on the website there's a comic there, a webcomic, and I actually already have the whole plot figured out. It's pretty cool. It's all females. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Was the original seed to this, but then now there's Smiley University, and there'll be other universities as well. And I think that's as far as I'll go in regards to bringing these like thoughts and ideas to like life. But yeah, I'm super excited about the comic. It's been a lot of fun. It's a way less competitive industry. It's a lot more relaxed, and it's fun. And so if I'm not having fun, then I probably won't take interest into it. But I'm excited to see where it goes. If you haven't checked it out already, definitely go check it out. I'm already in love with the characters, and I think once people see where I'm going with it, I think everyone will be a little bit more like hooked in. I hate talking about the comic because I don't want to, excuse me, give it away, because then you'll have no point in, there's no point in like checking it out. You already know what's going to happen. But yeah, it's definitely space themed. I'll say that.
Yes, it is.
Super galactic. I'll say that. But it's pretty cool. And I bring all my weird thoughts to it.
Yes.
And so we'll see it unfold.
Yeah, and it's beautifully illustrated. I'll say that for sure. Okay, selfish question. So I, like a lot of our listeners, I worked, and like you as well, because you have a corporate finance background, worked a lot in and had my life revolve a lot around practical, logical. And so now I'm trying to foster my creativity, and I find that I'm continuously hitting roadblocks. And like you were saying, I try to remind myself, like, if I'm not having fun, let me find something that is fun and chase that down. But it's so, sometimes I get lost in the weeds. So what are your secrets to staying in the fun or seeking out the fun?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
Good question.
I need it. I'm struggling.
So I have an answer, but I won't say it.
You're killing me.
Answer. I just channel. I can't. How do I even answer this?
I know it's like something that's so okay. Please do, because I feel like it is something that's so personal. Yeah. But yeah, I definitely find that for me, I have been learning a lot, specifically in terms of screenwriting. And yet every time I sit down and stare at the blank page, I'm like, I know I can do this, but it just feels so overwhelming to me.
So for that, I do have an answer for that. I take it page by page. But I usually know where I want to end up. I start from the end and then work my way there. And so for me, I utilize every moment to be a plot twist and somehow figure out how to get back to, the direction where I want to go. And so I think if you just think about it in regards to the bigger picture, where are you going with it? And then from there, just kind of make up, just kind of include anything that really comes to mind. I know that sounds really sporadic. But that's how I write. I definitely don't have it all the middle figured out. I have the beginning and then the end. And then I kind of just figure out the middle as I go.
No, that's great advice, because the beginning is what always traps me. It's so overwhelming to me. So I'll try starting at the end and seeing how that informs my writing. Thank you.
Start at the end, but kind of just think about, okay, where do I want this to end? And then I really try not to overthink it. I will say that. And I can really overthink things. Like if I'm good at anything, it's overthinking.
Same.
But when I write, I write when I'm ready. And so I'll just be honest, I don't have like a planned, okay, Monday I'm going to write this unless it's due. Then I'm like, okay, I have to write this. But I don't really plan out my writing sessions. They kind of just come to me and I'm like, oh wait, that's really good. Or I'll use a conversation that I'm having and then think, okay, wait, this would, this kind of like plot twist would make a really good scene in this. So I use like real world situations as well that I'm going through, or just random conversations that I have with people as well to inspire me. But yeah, what I don't do is overthink it. I just kind of let it flow. When it happens, it happens. And yeah.
Have you been writing in that style? Have you been surprised by any of the twists that have happened, or any of the like decisions the characters have made? Like maybe you thought that like this character behaves this way, and then in a certain moment you're like, this is the only character that it makes sense for like this thing to happen to, or for them to take this particular action, and been kind of surprised by that?
Yeah, I have. And I have actually been surprised in a way where one character seems so innocent and sweet, and then a couple of days later I'm like, wait, that's the villain. So yeah, I have definitely been super surprised by the way that my non-methodical way of doing this. But it makes it fun for me as well, and I think that's what keeps me interested. If I did it in a way that I found to be boring, then I probably wouldn't finish it. But making it this way just keeps me, the writer, interested. But I wish I could tell you guys like the whole plot.
Okay. Are you the dreamer? Is this your dream? Are you the one responsible for the simulation?
Wait, let me sip my mimosa. No, I'm not. That would creep me out more than you. No.
Would it though?
It would, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
I feel like, especially if she didn't know.
that would mean that I didn't wake up and I'm still dreaming. You know, that has no repercussions on you. That means I'm sleeping.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're the vulnerable one.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
in that situation. Oh no. I love
I'm
the
so
dreamer
sorry.
theory. It also making me a little uncomfortable now. I'm like, oh no. Oh no.
Oh, I'm full sweating. I'm full sweating.
Giving Julia the sweats. Mission accomplished.
That's the only way that I show emotion. Any emotion. Sadness, sweat. Anger, sweat. Stress, sweat. The only difference is when I'm happy, I cry.
Okay.
Still a little leaky.
Is that an Aquarius thing, or is
Always. I'm always leaky.
Is that an Aquarius thing?
I mean, we are the water bearers.
You're also the aliens
So-
of the zodiac, so I think that would make sense.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And feelings. Feelings are hard for us. We don't do well with feelings. We love to give them and make people feel things, but feeling them ourselves, we feel like we're impenetrable sometimes. And we're not.
No, nobody is.
We're all going to leave this conversation in a full existential tailspin.
Yeah.
100%.
Sorry.
Definitely gonna have to write some stuff down.
I know maybe this is the conversation that I'm going to come out of here and just be completely inspired to finally finish my screenplay.
Do it.
Ooh,
Do you want to
I
share
hope
like
so.
what it's about, or like a theme?
So something I've been going through personally is this. I've been working through it in therapy based on some trauma that I had. You know, I came to America as an immigrant. My family's from the Soviet Union. I had a very kind of in-between worlds upbringing that led to a lot of culture clash, a lot of unmet expectations, a lot of perfectionism, I had death, I had grief in my family. And it seems that myself became fractured into my child self, my teenage self, and myself now. And the parts are always kind of at odds with each other. So I'm kind of toying with this idea of having this child, teenage, and adult self, but you don't realize that they're all the same person. Not at the beginning. And so I'm kind of trying to fill in the events and how they play into it, but it's almost like Fight Club. You know,
Yeah.
how do you have the story make sense with this, you know, illusionary being, and then like reveal that it was all him all along. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Just, you know, it's making me sweat just talking about it. But what's hard for me is I have like the idea, or I'll get the inspiration and I'll see it and I'll know my characters and I'll have all of the pieces. But then when it comes time to putting it together, I get lost in the weeds and I start thinking of like, okay, there's a 3-act structure and there's an inciting incident and like all that BS of like the details that are there for a reason. They make sense. They, you know, make a sellable script, whatever. But it just, I get too focused on, okay, what is my scene here? How does it make sense? Instead of just letting the story guide me. That's where I get lost.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. First off, that sounds really cool. And I definitely need you to finish it. But I was listening to an audiobook the other day, and it talked about well-roundedness and how a lot of people were kind of steered in the wrong way of thinking that they needed to be super well-rounded, like in high school, college. But long story short, you know, you don't hire a lawyer who's well-rounded. You hire a lawyer who's good at what he does, right? You don't really care if your lawyer plays the saxophone and can do all these other things. Like, can you do the job?
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to writing, you know, I maybe, and this goes for like everyone, like maybe we shouldn't focus on like the well-roundedness of it, but really focus on the intention and the message and just make sure that it makes sense. Make it make sense. But like, you know, just make sure that it's good to whatever you think, you know, is good. You use some words and I'm like, what is that? I don't know what that means. And in regards to the mechanics of writing, and I didn't go to school for writing. I went to school for accounting, but I'm writing comic books. I think for me, I think if it just like, if it's your vision and you're doing it correctly to what you think is correct, then I think that's all that really matters.
Yeah. I love that. So true. Pitter patter, my little Grinch heart.
Yeah. Because it's also like, to what Yasmin's saying, it's about telling your story the way that you want it told. But I also know taking a class, you're like, they're looking for these XYZ things. I think the cool part though is you get to break the rules once you know them. So just break the rules.
Yeah. Very true.
That I can do very well.
I know.
As an Aquarius, that I enjoy. What? I have to do it that way? Fuck that. I'm going to do it this other way that's way harder and is going to take way longer and is definitely like off the beaten path, but that's more fun. Yeah. That's where I thrive. I thrive in chaos. It's interesting because I spiral out mentally, but then in retrospect, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a fun adventure. That was a fun little off-road.
Nice little story.
Yeah. Exactly.
I wanted to go back to something you were saying earlier, Yasmin, about like when things aren't fun, you're like, okay, I'm over it. Like I'm done with that. Was there like a particular like thing getting involved with something where you're like, where that kind of became your rule? Or has that been your rule since you really got out of the finance world?
That's a great question. I think that I was that well-rounded person that I spoke about, that I wish like in hindsight I wasn't. I was definitely by the books in high school. I wanted to like go to Harvard. I interviewed with Harvard. I didn't get in, but I interviewed with them. Totally bombed that interview. But I think that's all for the better. I don't know, like well-roundedness in my mind now is almost like I don't want to say it's a waste of time, but I think that, and I'll get back to your question, but I think that we definitely take away from people's creative like genius when we push on them these like standards to be the best and go to like an Ivy school and then get a hedge fund job and then, you know, have 6 kids. Well, no one has 6 kids anymore. I don't know. Have 3 kids and get married and buy a house. I don't know. I think that's for everyone. And so being such a by the book person, even like majoring in accounting, I think that proves that I was such a by the book person. I just got burnt out by it. And you know, I think I just decided that, I don't know where along the line I did this, but I just decided that I'm going to just start living my life for me and how I want my life to be. And my standard of perfect is perfect. But it was definitely after I quit my hedge fund job. That's when I started this project, It Girl. And it was totally not by the book, totally black sheep of my family. But, you know, I didn't expect it to make me any money. I just did it because it was fun, right? I just did it because it was something to do, how to meet new people, express myself, allow others to express themselves as well. And for a while, I was just interviewing people and getting to know them and getting them to explain like what makes them an it girl. At the time, I had this like little vendetta of like what an actual it girl is. Pretty much like by the book, beautiful, perfect, blah, blah, blah. That's not really the case in my opinion. And that was my goal at the time with it. And then that's when like art entered into the picture and it just kind of manifested into its own little thing. But did I answer your question? I feel like I just went on a tangent.
Yes, you did.
So how would you describe an it girl now?
Oh, you with a solid question. I wouldn't, honestly. I would say she's every single zodiac journal on the website. Definitely not definable. Yeah.
I love that. What is the website? Let people know where they can read the comic, shop the journals, all the things.
Yeah. So it's itgirlempire.org, ITGRL empire.org. And everything's on there. Right now, I'm having a 25% off Black Friday deal. We have some great journals, as I spoke about, some cool wall prints, the webcomic, which is free. We add new content every 3 weeks. And yeah, definitely feel free to check it out. If you have any suggestions or comments or whatever, you guys can also find me on Instagram, It Girl Empire, and then my personal is Yasmin Iman.
Yes.
And all that information will be in the show notes as well.
Yeah, we'll hook that up for sure. Mm-hmm. And then, Yasmin, since you are our first guest to be back more than once, you already know the drill. We love to end the show with the Reco of the Week, something that is giving you life this week that you want to share with our audience. Do you have one on hand?
I should, right? Because I know the drill.
This is me every week, and like I co-host, and I'm always like, a Reco, so
it's me this
you're in
week,
good company.
So you're in good company, yeah.
Yeah, so I think just to like go based off of what we were talking about, definitely don't feel pressured to be a well-rounded person. I think if anything, you should feel pressured to be what you feel talented at and focus on that. Everyone has a gift. Everyone is gifted. I truly believe that. Everyone has like a genius gift. Mm. And I think once you just channel that and figure out what your purpose is in life with that gift, go for that. Don't blind out and just forget the noise around you. Being well-rounded is a waste of time. Say that. And just focus on what makes you happy and what you find fun.
I love that.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
I'm going to go cry in a corner from joy. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for having me. This was so much fun.
Let's do some recos of the week. I can't wait to auto-tune that one.
One of these days, we're going to harmonize. Oh, please auto-tune.
I auto-tuned the episode for this week.
I haven't. I'm haven't
That's
heard
okay.
it yet. I'm only halfway through.
That is okay. It's a little treat for you. Just a little.
We were screaming on this week's episode, last week's episode, whatever episode was before this one.
I got the screaming out, but we can absolutely use that as bonus content. Do we want to try that Recco one more time? The Recco of the week.
Brown leather, yellow leather, brown leather.
Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather.
That's it.
I think brown leather's in there too.
Brown cow.
There you go. You got this. You're a theater major. Boom. There you go. $60,000 in debt.
Let me feel it. Let me feel it in my lowest chakra. Okay.
I wish that this was a joke, Julia. This is what theater school is. It's waking up at 8 a.m. to have somebody tell you to lay on the floor and feel your spine and be like, but don't fall asleep. You're going to fall asleep.
Please.
Sorry.
I'm going to leave right after this. Drive to your apartment. I'm going to Celine Dion that shit. I drove all night. And I'm going to make you reenact that for our TikTok. I'm going to be like Kris Jenner.
Is like?
Yeah, I'm going to be like Kris Jenner with my little Canon camera.
Oh boy.
Like when Kim K was shooting Playboy. With my little Canon digital camera.
Great, sweetie.
Exactly.
That sounds...
Should we try to... Let's try it.
Recos of the week. Figured out. It's beautiful.
Great.
It'll be beautiful.
Great.
Don't worry about it.
Amazing. I trust you and believe in you. Charlie Puth who?
Charlie Puth could never.
Nope. Nope.
Julia, hit me with your reco.
Okay. All right. Bear with me.
I will.
I don't have a reco this week. And that is also my reco. So let me unpack that.
Yep. Do it.
This purpose of this segment is meant to be, what are we doing this week, or what have we exposed ourselves to that gives us joy, gives us purpose, lights up our life.
Mm-hmm.
We just bought a house. We've moved into said house. And everything that I have been doing is shoulds. So I should be unpacking these boxes. I should be painting the insides of these cabinets. I should be. And I was reflecting back and I was like, I have done nearly nothing this week that like brought me joy or brought me, you know how when you do something, whether it's reading a book you really love or watching something on TV or dancing around your house, whatever it is, you lose yourself. Time no longer exists. It moves too fast and too slow at the same time. I have done nothing like that this past week. And it's made me realize that I need to kind of reset where I'm at. And I need to play a little more and I need to get that joy. So my reco is take an inventory of your day or your week or your weekend or whatever, especially as we head into the holidays, which could be a very high stress time for a lot of people. Take inventory and see, are you doing a lot of shoulds and not a lot of fun, joyful, playful things? And if you are doing too many shoulds, then maybe you take a little bit of time. Maybe you block out an hour on your calendar. Maybe you take a long bath, whatever it is that you like to do for yourself. Take the inventory of your time and see that you're choosing to spend it wisely to kind of refill yourself. And if you do take inventory and you say, yes, no, obviously I'm doing something that brings me joy, please call us and share it with us as a reco of the week. Our number is 707-892-0401. Leave us a voicemail. But if you take inventory and you're like, nope, I do need to play more, I do need to frolic more, then do it. But first piece is awareness. So that's my like reco, non-reco.
I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think
Thank you.
Especially, I don't know if you felt this way. I know I have a couple of times where I'm like, oh no, I don't have a reco. I don't have a thing. And so that it becomes, instead of it being a joy, it's now a stress. And so then it's like, oh shit, well, it when it starts to feel like homework, right? Like you don't, that's not the point of this segment. This point is to, like you said, what's the thing that's bringing you joy? If the thing that is bringing you joy is like taking an afternoon nap or going on a walk or not doing anything, then that's great. That whatever is fulfilling your life in a way that adds value to you and your personal being versus feeling like you have to do something to add to the conversation. But
100%. 100%. I feel like as we grow up, or like when we're kids, we like want to grow up because we want more freedom, but we also kind of want more responsibility. Like we want to be the ones that make the decisions. And then we get here and we get so lost in what that means, right? What it needs to look like to be an adult, what it needs to like, are we making the right decisions? How are we making these decisions? How are other people perceiving the decisions we make? When in reality, we need to go back to that mentality of how we were when we were kids, when we were like, when I'm an adult, I'm going to call all the shots. And literally just remember, like, you're the adult now. Yeah. If you want to eat birthday cake for breakfast, that's your prerogative. Do it. Like, don't feel the need to be a certain type of adult now that you're here.
Yeah. I have to wonder, and not to send us into a tangent because I feel like this could easily do this, but that idea of like when you're a kid and you so badly want to be an adult, like you want to be a grown up, right? Because you want more responsibility or you want to be able to call the shots. I wonder, just listening to you say that, I was like, I wonder if it's that you want more responsibility or that you want people to view you as more responsible / treat you with respect. Right? Like when you're an adult, that's when you get respect. You don't get respect as a kid. So I'm kind of like, I wonder if we gave kids the respect that they deserve because they are people, they're little people, but like they're, you know, they're still figuring out the world, but so are adults. Spoiler alert. Like, would kids want to grow up as much? I don't know. Maybe they still do because they want to be able to drive or like do whatever. And they can't because they're, you know, their feet don't reach the pedals yet. And also they're not 16. So I don't know. I was like, oh, I wonder how much of that is just like wanting to be respected. And so often kids aren't.
I agree with you. And I also feel like, what are we defining that respect as? Like, is a kid who watches a parent put on a suit and tie, take a briefcase, get in the car with their cup of coffee, go to work, and then come home, like, is that what we as a society have told children is like what they need to look forward to? Because now that I'm here, I'm like, no. It's a lie. It is a lie. It's an illusion. Like nobody wants to get up at the butt crack of dawn to put on uncomfortable clothing, pants, fuck pants, and then have to, in like before the sun is even coming up, go sit in their car frigid while it warms up and defrosts, and then put drive to a job that I'm not about to like assume I know anybody's life, but likely there's a level of stress there. There's a level of should there, maybe not so much play. And then you come home and you're exhausted. And what is the first thing you want to do when you get home, right? Take off your pants.
Yeah. Get out of those clothes.
We've been lying to our children.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I've had this conversation so much of like, for me as a kid, I've always wanted to be an actor. I've always wanted to do theater. I've always wanted to be an artist. And there were some people in my life who were super supportive of that. And then there were other people who were very much like, no, that's not the way that the world works. No, you can't do that. XYZ thing. And I bought into that thinking. And now that I'm older, I'm finding out, one, that the people who were the loudest about that are miserable. And they're like, oh, I don't know what I'm talking about. And two, it's nothing is certain. Nothing is certain. It doesn't matter if you have a stable, steady job in a corporate setting. That can go away too, for so many reasons. Like a company could decide to downsize. It could fade out. Hopefully not this again, a pandemic can hit and a bunch of people get laid off. Like, life is unpredictable no matter what path you choose. So you might as well do what the fuck you want, because you don't know how much time you have. Not to get like super dark about it, but you don't know how much time you have. So find the ways that you can have joy. One of my favorite quotes is like, I think it's from Kim Cattrall, and she's basically like, if I'm not having fun, I'm not doing it. Like, I love that. I love that fucking attitude. And, she's at a place in her life where she can have that kind of attitude, right? Like, there are circumstances that people are born into where maybe that can't be the attitude, but if you are at a place in your life where you can do that, or if there are things in your life where you're like, you know what, I don't want to do this, it does not bring me joy. Say no to it if you can. Like, fuck it. Anyway.
That's why this pandemic has been it's been horrible in so many ways, but it's been kind of a gift to some people in other ways, in that I have so many friends that were laid off they were furloughed or laid off, and they ended up, picking up a new hobby, learning something new that ended up becoming a side hustle that is now a full-on business, right? Yeah. And I have, my friend Nora started getting into making these like resin trays and cups and containers, and she started playing around with it, and now she has an Etsy shop, and her primary business, she does a lot of like made to order stuff, but she got this idea to basically take bouquets from special occasions like weddings and preserve the flowers in a resin tray, so that when a bride, or now a wife or a husband, takes off jewelry and puts it on the tray, or puts whatever on the tray, like that's their wedding bouquet. So like, she got this idea, and now she's booked up with commissions for months out, and she loves it. She loves what she's doing. Her and her husband just bought a house. Like, she was living in Brooklyn. She just bought a house in upstate New York for more space so that she can have an actual studio. Like, so it's possible. I agree with you. Like, find the fun, find the joy. And maybe it starts out, maybe you're not chasing that all the time. Maybe it starts out that you just take an hour every week, or maybe an hour every day, or whatever the case may be. And before you know it, and I feel like we talked about this with Yasmin, your joy, what brings you joy, what gives you life, will eventually be the direction you move in naturally. Yeah. And the money will come. The money and the means will come.
Yeah. You'll find a way. And I think it is sort of like the law of attraction in a way. And it may not be the exact thing that you were going for, but again, those opportunities sort of open up. We talked a lot about this with Janae on our last episode of like, you put the work in one place and doors open somewhere else. So the area you're putting the work in may not be the thing that launches you into the stratosphere, but something will. But I think when you are living a very purposeful life that you feel super fulfilled by, your priorities shift, things just get pulled into you. I'm a big believer of all of that. So,
amazing. Well, what's your reco? You hit me with it. You let me know.
So my reco is
you shared a little bit about it off air with me.
I did, yeah. So
for everyone else to know.
My reco is a book called The Practice by Seth Godin. It is a book that was suggested to me by Bea Valiente. It's a book that every Tuesday, there's like little check-ins to see how people are doing with the book. But so that's the book that we're reading right now. I am just starting on it because I'm just like really diving into being a member with Bea Valiente. But so I was listening to it, and it touches on a lot of like what we talked with Janae about, and what we talked with Yasmin about, and what we've talked with so many guests about. But it's really about like taking your art, taking the craft, the thing that you want to hone in on, and making that the practice, making that the thing that you put effort into all of the time. It talks a lot about, one of the things that I really loved is one of the statements, and I haven't gotten to the section where he dives more into it, but there's no such thing as writer's block, right? And I know that's going to be a controversial opinion, but I'm a believer of that even if you're writing a story or you're trying to write poetry or something, and you're hitting a creative wall and you can't move forward with that, write something else, even if it's just stream of consciousness, even if it's like a really shitty short story. I also think I've known a few people who have learned to write by copying down other stories, like from their favorite author, picking their favorite passages. And then you start to understand like, oh, this is how that author's writing structure is. And so if you really like that writing structure, you can start to adapt that into your own. But anyway, there's all kinds of ways to get through that. And so reading it, there are a couple of quotes that I would like to share. So one of my favorite ones is, the magic to creating is that there is no magic. It's not about magic. It's about practice. Yeah. It's about putting in the work. It's about finding time, maybe 10, 15 minutes a day or an hour a day to dedicate to that thing that you want to be doing. What's another one?
Yeah, and I know something that Shawn Mendes said. I was watching an interview that he was doing, and he said that advice he got from Ed Sheeran when it comes to songwriting is, if you haven't written in a while, and I'm sure it can apply to any kind of writing or craft, but if you haven't done it in a while, then you just gotta be okay with your first few pages or whatever being trash. Like, he said that it's like opening a faucet that hasn't been used in a long time. You got to get all the dirty water out first and flush it, and then the clean water comes.
Yep. Yeah, you've got to break through in some way. I can't remember where I got this from. I think it may have been a TA in college, but I really wanted to write like one act play, and I could not get it to work. And she was like, write it as a short story first and see what happens. And so I did. And then I was able to like take the short story and then turn it into this like one act that I was trying to write for a project. But this idea of like, sometimes you get so caught up in like what you want the structure to be that you're slowly suffocating the art that you're trying to create. So let it be whatever it is, and then you can sort of mold it. You can mold it afterwards. And you can maybe take bits and pieces elsewhere. One of my favorite, as you all know, I'm a huge Fall Out Boy fan. One of my favorite things with certain albums is, because there were a lot of us who would go through, Pete once used to like post on LiveJournal and Blogspot, and we would go through and we would read his journals, and then an album would come out and you would see these lines that he'd written in his journals. And he just went through his writing and turned it into something else. Like, there's so many ways that you can create future art with things that you've already done. And it doesn't have to be like, I think that's the beautiful thing about art, is it's never finished. Even music, sure, maybe when you record it, I mean, Taylor Swift, right? Like she just she re-released all of her music as her own version because of all of the shit with lawsuit and all, you know, wanting to own her own music. But she's gone through and she's changed things. She's molded it. If you see a musician live, like they play with the structure. I think that is so fucking dope when people do that. But one of the other things from this book that I like paused it because I'm doing the audiobook, went back a few times just to listen to it over and over again, because I think it's really important. And I've heard this from teachers, I've heard this from mentors and friends, and I've said it to people too, is that you get to define if you are an artist or not, right? Like simply saying I'm an artist makes you one. And I know some people would argue and say like, oh, well, you can't be an actor. I've never seen you in anything. And it's like, that doesn't matter. Like the other quote that I really love is like, there's a difference between saying, or the quote is, I am blank, but they just don't know it yet, is totally different than I'm not blank because they didn't tell me I was. So the idea of like, you define who you are. Don't wait for other people to tell you like, oh, now you're an actor. Oh, now you're a writer. Now you're a screenwriter. Now you're a makeup artist. Like, no, you get to be those things. Even if you never share that art with anybody else, which I do think like the point of art is to share it because you connect with other people. But even if it's just for you, or even if it's just for one other person, you're still an artist. And, you know, even if you're working in a corporate job or you haven't created in a while, it doesn't mean you're still not that thing. Like that's still a part of you. It's still there. Yeah. You just have to make space and time for those things to let them come out. So yeah. I'm about a fourth of the way in, so I'm curious to see how it goes.
Keep us posted because I'm also curious. But I think it's exactly what we were just talking about earlier with like our child selves versus our adult selves, right? Like a lot of what we do in our lives is reactionary to the beliefs of other people. And the people that I'm most attracted to, the energy that I'm most attracted to are the people. We were talking about this off air about Friends and how Phoebe is one of our favorite characters because she just does her own thing and she thinks for herself and she learns in her own way through her own experiences rather than having other people tell her how she should be or how life should be or what kind of artist she is or whether she is or she isn't. And I think it's the same thing. So I think it starts from getting to know yourself and then protecting that self. Yeah. And then evolving with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard work though.
It is because I think especially like a life as a creative, so often and this is something that the author talks a lot about, of like our society will tell you that wanting to be creative is wrong, right? Like that doesn't fit into the industrial society that we've created for ourselves. It doesn't match up with what society deems as appropriate. So you have to be willing to fight against that and to push against that. And which I was like, oh shit. So the book is at least the first couple of chapters is like also a little like anti-capitalist. So I was like, oh hell yeah. But it's, you know, he states that very clearly. Like if you are trying to run a business or, you know, work in a field that is not the typical 9 to 5 is not in a corporate setting, it's going to be difficult because people don't expect it to succeed. Yeah. At the same time, though, that's generally where success does come from, is when you, like we were talking about just a few minutes ago, when you follow that thing that pulls you forward, it sort of opens you up to receive more success. So hell yeah. It's really dope. It's on Audible. That's where I'm listening to it. So
drop the name of the author one more time.
Yeah. Seth Godin, and the name of the book is The Practice. He has a couple of other books, which I've not listened to at all. So, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I'll definitely need to pick that up. 100.
Hundo P.
Hundo P. New Jersey.
Hey. Goofy.
I'm sorry, and also you're
Don't
welcome.
apologize. Thank you.
Oh, this is the Peony.
Thanks for listening to us. You can find us on all of the socials at the Peony Podcast. So be sure to follow us.
Yes.
And
please review.
Us.
Give us 5 stars if you love us, because that is what gets us those listens and ultimately what brings us all together and helps us connect to the guests that we bring on the show and the people that end up listening, like yourselves, and brings us all together. So thank you so much for being here. Come back soon. Bye. Bye. Nickelodeon.